What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We've already gone over a lot of the interesting new additions in this new season, but I think one of the more under-the-radar changes has been the Acid buff. I haven't tried it out much myself yet this season, but I know it turned from a garbage move into a Shadow Claw clone. The only thing holding it back is the lack of Pokemon that actually learn this attack. With that said, I think one of the best Pokemon that do learn this move is Tentacruel, a Pokemon with a lot of bulk and a decent amount of charge move coverage. So let's get into the battles and see what this Pokemon can do. Let's get right on into it. Game number 1, Shadow Kanto Marowak as our lead into a Dedenne. Couldn't dream up a better scenario. Let's see what our opponent's going to do. Obviously, they have to swap out here, and they swap into a Dusclops, a Pokemon I don't actually have a hard counter for. I go for a Bone Club, and I'm going to swap out to my own Dusclops here in just a second to absorb all of this energy. That Bone Club, as well as the Mud Slap damage, potentially putting them into Shadow Punch range for our own Dusclops here. We should be in a pretty good spot as long as our opponent doesn't go down shields. And I mean, at this point, if they do go down shields, I can just match the shields here to make sure I can keep switch in our favor. We want our Tentacruel to avoid that Electric type if we can, but honestly, Acid is super effective into that Fairy type Pokemon as well, so I guess it wouldn't be the worst case scenario if they do go down shields and I lose switch, because Tentacruel, I bet, is pretty good into Dedenne as well. In comes a Shadow Punch into the Electric type Mouse. This Pokemon has not boosted its defense stat just yet, although Shadow Punch is not the most efficient fast move, or charge move rather, in the game. It's a very spammy attack, and it's able to survive pretty comfortably, but now I can bring in my Shadow Marowak, go for the Mud Slap down, and see what our opponent wants to do. Alright, this is probably one of the scariest things we could see in the backline. It's going to be a Shadow Gligar up energy, and while Fury Cutter damage here is going to be resisted, we have to keep in mind that I'm going to do a lot of damage with Acid as well as Acid Spray. I'm fine at this point if they let this go. They have to shield something in this match, or else they risk getting fast move down, even by a resisted Acid here. It's going to start adding up over time, and now I'm going to reach another move here in just a second. Our opponent going for yet another charge move. Are they going to bait us? Are they going to nuke? Let's see what they throw. A Dig comes through this time, and because now I have yet another Acid Spray, I'm going to go for it, debuff their defense stat as much as we can. Down goes the defense even further on this Gligar. They still have to throw a full-on Dig to knock out our Tentacruel. Aerialist would not be quite enough. I get yet another Acid Spray off, and I mean, at this point, their defense has been dropped as much as possible. These Acids doing so much of their HP, they have to throw a charge move to knock us out, and at this point, I could probably Mud Slap this down. I should be in a good spot to win this game. Dig comes through here, it knocks out our Tentacruel, in comes our Marowak, and in comes that Dedenne. I want to get a move off before they're even close to a play rough. That would have basically one-shot us if we did end up letting that land, so a good thing we can knock out the Dedenne here and slap down the Shadow Gligar. GG to our opponent. Alright, next game, a Licky in the lead. A pretty good lead matchup, honestly, but it can be awkward if they're on a move like Solar Beam, but Rollout does nothing as a fast move, and let's see what they're going to throw. They throw after 5. That could be a Shadow Ball, it could be an Earthquake here. I feel like they will full send the big charge move, so I'm going to shield it up myself and start overfarming as much as we can. In comes a Bone Club. These Mud Slaps putting the Licky well below half HP at this point already, and this Bone Club is going to put them deep into the red if they end up letting it go. I'm going to CMP on this next charge attack. It's going to be either an Earthquake or maybe a Body Slam bait from them if they happen to have that charge move. Our opponent, though, letting it go. I have a full HP Shadow Marowak. I should be in a good spot here, although Drifblim in the backline is a little bit uncomfortable. I go for a Bone Club bait, knowing that at this point they have to shield something, and luckily we do get a shield with that move. I can't give them that big farm down, right? If I do, I'm in such a bad spot where potentially I get swept by this Drifblim up energy. I shield, and a Shadow Ball is thrown, a good shield by us here, although at this point our opponent might swap out, which could be tricky if I want to take out this Drifblim later on this game. Our opponent does shield the Shadow Punch. I'm going to go for yet another one here, but our opponent ends up going into a Shadow Kanto Marowak of their own. I wait, I make sure I see what comes in, so instead of going for the Shadow Punch into this thing, I land the Ice Punch instead, doing about half of their HP, and I get a second Ice Punch off, which while it won't knock them out, will put them into a nice fast move farm down range for either our Tentacruel or potentially our Marowak. We go for the Snipe down. Our opponent, though, realizes it's going to be coming. They go for the charge move right when I try to get the fast move down, and that will put us very low and potentially give them a lot of energy on the Shadow Drifblim. Now, I'm one fast attack away from that rock slide. Unfortunately, I have to go for a Bone Club instead. This next Astonish will knock us out, but because of the chip damage I got into this Drifblim, I think just one Scald is all it's going to need to knock out this Pokemon. In comes the first charge attack here. I know at this point we can survive one move, but are they going to get a second before my Scald? It's going to be really close. They had a lot of energy, but not enough to outpace us to this move. GG here to our opponent. Scald should be enough to knock them out. Tentacruel didn't have a lot of play in this game, but it was able to close out that matchup. Alright, next game, going to see Shadow Marowak as our lead into a Talonflame. Pretty awkward lead matchup here. I'm going to safe swap our Water-type Pokemon and hope that our opponent either stays in or that potentially I can just have play in the backline if they do swap out here. They are staying in for a second. I'm going to no-shield, hoping for no Brave Bird. Our opponent throwing the Fly. We don't take that much damage, but it does put us deep into fast move farm down range, especially for a Pokemon like Gastrodon. This is not looking amazing for us right now. I know Gastrodon is a very bulky Pokemon, and these Mud Slaps adding up so quickly. I do just barely reach another Scald here. I would love a a shield right now. A shield advantage would make it so I can one-shot that Talonflame with a Rock Slide. Our opponent, though, very smart, no shield. They know they do survive that attack. I think at this point, absorb the energy on our Dusclops. I did get that debuff. It's only going to be a body slam, so I know at this point Dusclops might have play in the backline. Let's see what our opponent's going to do. Yeah, they're fortunate throwing that body slam, a debuffed body slam into a Dusclops barely does anything. Honestly, at this point, a Hex might have done more damage, or a Mud Slap rather, from them, which at this point also means our Shadow Marowak has a lot of play in the backline against this Shadow Gator. We'll try to see what we can do here. We have to shield up that Hydro Cannon, but I'm going to try to chip this Pokemon down as much as we can. While Feraligatr is pretty good into Ghost-type Pokemon, saying it does have access to Shadow Claw, if I can chip down this Talonflame enough— oh man, nice no-shield on that Bone Club bait, by the way, from our opponent— but if I can chip down that Feraligatr enough into Shadow Punch range, I think there's a chance here we can still win this match. In comes a charge move from this Talonflame. I know at this point it's going to be a fly, maybe I guess a flame charge if they have it, but I can just go for the no shield, go for a full Hex down against them. I am forced into shielding this move, which is not ideal, but I think at this point the amount of energy I'll have will allow me to outpace them to 2 Shadow Punches before 2 Hydro Cannons will be reached. In comes the first Shadow Punch against them, our opponent going for the shield on the charge attack, and I don't know if we have enough damage in our Dusclops here to knock this Pokemon out before we get Shadow Clawed down. It's going to be really close. Hydro Cannon coming through. It does a massive amount of damage. In comes our Shadow Punch. This needs to be enough. If not, I think I get Shadow Clawed down. Our opponent has very little HP, but just enough. A 1 HP survive. They Shadow Claw us down, just barely taking the win there. GG to our opponent. All right, next game, Shadow Scizor in the lead. A pretty neutral matchup here, all things considered, but I am happy to see it in the lead matchup, saying it can be tricky into both our Tentacruel as well as our Dusclops in the back. Our opponent, though, safe swapping a Dusclops, a Pokemon, once again, we don't have a hard answer for, but we can go for a lot of Mud Slap damage, as well as potentially, I guess, farm them down if they are going to go for a charge move here. They're going to go for a Shadow Punch, actually, which is not ideal. It means now they're actually already at an Ice Punch. I guess I should have tried to catch this move. At this point, maybe misplaying this game a little bit. I'm letting my Marowak go down, as well as, I mean, at this point, I lost his shield, I have energy, but this is such a bad spot to be in. We see a Bug type come in, but man, I went for a Bone Club. I thought for sure this was going to be the Scizor coming back in, but no, it's the Araquanid of all things. I should have saved that energy. At this point, we are in such a tricky spot. I don't know how much play we're going to have here. I have to hope that they let their Scizor go down, or else I probably lose this game. In comes the first Night Slash here. It's going to do a decent amount of damage if I don't let it go. They boost with the Night Slash. That is so bad to see. At this point, this Scizor probably is going to run through me. Shadow Punch is going to get the first shield, and they do have another shield ready to go, but they can outpace. They're 1 move away from the Night Slash right now. In comes the Shadow Punch. Our opponent does shield this up. They get greedy. That was our one chance of winning this game here. That greed from our opponent allowing us to reach this Shadow Punch, get the knockout against Shadow Scizor. They had no idea how spammy Dusclops is, and that's why it's such a good Pokemon in this meta. Acid, Tentacruel, a fantastic answer to a Rocket in the backline. GG there to our opponent. Next game, Shadow Marowak against Shadow Marowak in the lead. A pretty neutral matchup here. I'm happy to see this, so it's not against my Tentacruel, but potentially they might have a backline that my Marowak would have more play into, which might mean this is a waste of my Ground-type Pokemon. In comes the Bone Club. I do lose CMP, which is a little bit unfortunate here. If they do shield this up, then they can dictate how this matchup goes. They do match my shield, and at this point, it's going to be so awkward. I'm going to go for the Bone Club once again. Our opponent, though, not opting to throw on CMP. I'm going to go for the move. Do they shield? Do they let it go? They do shield, so at this point, they can go for the full farm down against us, and I'm hoping that once this Mud Slapper is out of the way, Tentacruel should be able to farm down whatever they have in the backline and just go for Acid Sprays, Scalds, and put in a lot of work. In comes the Hexus, will knock out the Marowak, so a lot of energy down the drain for them, and a Shadow Drapion as one of their backline Pokemon. So yeah, my Marowak would have been good against this, but at this point, I have to hope that Tentacruel has play against both this and their final Pokemon. Crunch comes through. It does put us to about half HP. It's a double poison backline. Man, I wish I had my Mud Slapper around still. That would have swept this backline. And Tentacruel, honestly, it's kind of hard-walled by a Dragalge. This is not looking great for us. I think maybe we have play. We didn't get a Scald debuff, though, so maybe they can knock us out. If they have Outrage, definitely they knock us out with whatever they have here. And if they, I guess if they had an Aqua Tail, we probably survived that, but they went for the Outrage at one-shots us, and unfortunately at this point, Dusclops has so much work to do to try to win this game. I don't know if that Drapion's in double Ice Punch range. I have to hope, though, that it is, but I didn't get a lot of damage against him. I had Hex as well as Acid, Fast Food Pressure. Haven't landed a single charge move into that Drapion yet this game, so this will be a very close endgame matchup. In comes the Shadow Drapion here, and while I do like Shadow Dusclops, I think it has a bit too much work to do right now to have any chance to win this one. Ice Punch does do a decent amount, but I need another 2 charge moves to knock them out here. I am going to have to call an Aqua Tail bait there at back-to-back charge moves. We're going to go and see a Crunch come through. Unfortunately, GG there to our opponent. Not much Dusclops could do. All right, next game, it's going to be Shadow Marowak into a Greninja. Very awkward Pokemon, honestly, for our lead matchup here. Although, because we are such a high damage fast move, potentially I can 2-shield through this matchup and make it so our Dusclops in the backline gets to avoid this Dark-type Pokemon. It is kind of crazy to see a Greninja in this meta. This Pokemon by no means wants to face the bug types, and the Dedenne as well, just absolutely terrible matchup for it. So I'm surprised to see it here, but I guess it must be having some play for them. They are using it, and it is winning the lead against us. But I can 2-shield through them, as I was saying. I have to go down my shields, but I think we're still in a good spot. Our opponent safe swaps a Talonflame. Maybe I should have baited this move, but I want a guaranteed shield back. If I get a shield, then my Tentacruel can go for a Scald against them. They try to call the bait. Down goes the Talonflame. In comes that Greninja once again. This looks like it's probably game over for them. Maybe not, actually. This is one of the trickier Pokemon that could be in the backline. I know if this Pokemon takes care of my Marowak here, there is a chance they can sweep me. So what I'm going to do, actually, is I come in with my Dusclops, knowing that if they haven't thrown a Charge Move yet, they are still on their electric form, which means I can survive one Aura Wheel. I can potentially either force more energy from them, or I can reach an Ice Punch. If I can reach this Ice Punch, they're in farm down range. If they throw a move here before I get this attack, then potentially I can farm them down with my Tentacruel as well as my Marowak here. And it's looking like at this point, we were able to avoid disaster, but that Morpeko, honestly, there was a world there where we could have got swept by that Pokemon. So GG there to our opponent. Very interesting team. All right, next game, Shadow Marowak into a Shadow Scizor. We saw this Pokemon earlier today. Let's see if they stay in, if they swap out. They do swap instantly into a Furret, a Pokemon I don't actually have a hard answer for. They go instantly for a Swift before I can get a Bone Club off, and because of that, I'm going to let it go. I know it's just a Swift of all things. I'm going to go for one more Mud Slap, go for the Bone Club, try to chip down this Furret, maybe draw a shield. Although with the Shadow Scizor in the lead, I would assume they let it go, save shields for that very squishy Pokemon, and I'm going to try to go for a full Acid down against this Furret. This is going to be close, though. Can they get a second move off against us before I can get that full fast move farm down? I have to hope that they don't, but it will be very close. Ah, man, 1 HP away from getting acided all the way down. At this point, this will put us pretty low into Bullet Punch down range, but I do have almost 2 Chargers. They come in with their final Pokemon. It's going to be a Jellicent, and at this point, I am a little bit worried that I don't have enough in the tank to win this game. Shadow Scizor is going to be so tricky to deal with. This Jellicent up this much energy is so bad for both my Ghost type as well as my Ground type. I'm going to go for the Scald, get them down to about half HP. I got a debuff again here, which means they do have to swap out, but Shadow Scizor potentially is primed to get our shields, and the energy they still have on that Jellicent is potentially catastrophic for our chances to win this game. ItsAXN gets our first shield. Shadow Punch coming through. Our opponent is likely going to go for the shield here, knowing how squishy this Pokemon is. Shadow Punch being thrown, draws the shield from the Shadow Scizor, and I'm going to go for yet another Shadow Punch against them, but that Jellicent is still healthy. It has so much energy. I don't know if we can shield this next Night Slash here. I'm going to go for the Shadow Punch on CMP. I kind of have to shield in a way. How else am I going to knock out the Shadow Scizor? I guess I no-shield, hoping that I can outpace them to a Bone Club with my Marowak, but this is looking so bad for us. They have a move right now. I go for the catch, but they call it as well. They hex us all the way down. Incredibly well played by our opponent here. They have us. I just don't have enough in the tank on our Marowak. They have a move on both this Jellicent as well as that Scizor. GG there to our opponent. All right, next game. Shadow Marowak into a Wigglytuff. I really wish that I had my Tentacruel against this Pokemon. We'll see what we can do here, though. I know it's a very neutral matchup. Mud Slap into Charm, a lot of fast move pressure both sides. But because I have Bone Club, which is a bit spammier than any move that the Wigglytuff's going to have, potentially I'm going to be able to get a shield from them. In comes a Bone Club. It does draw the shield. I'm going to catch a move if I can on our Tentacruel. I don't want to go down shields, and I do want to keep my Mud Slapper around if I can. Seems like they might be a little bit scared of it since they already went for a shield. They went for a Swift, actually, against us, and then they came in with a Gastrodon. I'm going to go for the Scald, hope for an attack drop here. Our opponent potentially is going to shield this move. Maybe they no-shield, though. They're already down shield, so yeah, probably a no-shield is almost guaranteed from them. Hope I can get the Acid Spray, just barely cannot, which means there's so much energy on this Gastrodon. There's a decent amount of HP left over on that Wigglytuff as well. I'm not sure if we're going to have a lot of play here. Unfortunately, Tentacruel got Mud Slap down, which is not the most ideal scenario to be in. We have to go for this Shadow Punch if I want to snipe him down before their next Earth Power as well. And let's see what they have in the backline. I mean, at this point, maybe Wigglytuff comes back in, or I guess maybe we see the third Pokemon. It's going to be a Greninja, a Pokemon that Dusclops really does not want to see. I don't know what's up with these Greninjas right now, but this is not looking great for us. I know, maybe if I can go for like a Shadow Punch and somehow two-shot this thing, there's a chance, but it's not that squishy. I don't think it's going to be able to come anywhere close to that. Greninja, yeah, I mean, honestly, while that is resisted damage and it does do quite a bit to them, it's not going to two-shot. I need 3 Shadow Punches to knock them out here. They still have a Wigglytuff with a shield that they can hide behind. This is not looking great for our chances of winning this game. Shadow Punch being thrown, our opponent does go for the no-shield. I'm just 2 away from my next move. Our opponent, realizing that, goes for the catch against us. This is so unfortunate, losing to the Wigglytuff user. They were ABA weak to our Tentacruel, but unfortunately just got it on that one bad matchup, but GG there to our opponent. All right, next game, Marowak into a Shadow Scizor. So we've seen this lead a couple times. Has been a little bit tricky to overcome here, but this time our opponent actually staying in. These Mud Slaps doing so much damage, but Bullet Punch as well, after that damage increase in this season, is keeping pace with the damage here. They go for a Night Slash after 7, so they're 3 away from the next move. They come in with a Sableye. And it seems like, man, my Marowak is definitely the star of the show today. This Pokemon is going to have a lot of play into the Sableye that just swapped in. In comes the next charge move. This Bone Club likely going to draw a shield or potentially put them into an acid farm down range. Either way, I am actually going to swap into our Tentacruel here, just knowing that since it's a non-Shadow Sableye, potentially I can absorb all the damage they're going to throw into us, and then get either a charge move off against them, or against whatever they're going to come in with if they do swap out. Foul Play does put us down near the yellow, but not quite enough for a 2-shot, because they are the non-Shadow variant. In comes the next charge move, Foul Play, once again going to put us pretty low, but we can survive this overfarm, get more energy in case that Scizor comes back in. We are 2 or 3 acids away from a Scald, and I have no idea what they have in the backline, but I'm hoping that whatever it is, I can reach a move against. They come in with their Dusclops here. This is a scary Pokemon, actually, but Scald will do a decent chunk of damage. Honestly, one of my harder-hitting moves that I have against this Pokemon. They come in with the Shadow Scizor, and I know at this point they don't have enough energy to get to 2 Night Slashes, so I can just go for the shield, go for a full Hex down, and start spamming out charge moves against their Dusclops in the backline. Down goes their Shadow Scizor. We have so much energy on our own Dusclops, and while they do have a shield advantage here, I don't think it's going to matter too much. We are still outside of Shadow Punch range, and we're going to get to 3 Shadow Punches before they can get to 2. In comes our next Shadow Punch. We are a couple more hexes away from my third. Our opponent does have some energy on them, but not enough here to knock us out. I guess, well, if they have Poltergeist, that could knock us out here, but there's no chance they have that, right? Although I did get Poltergeist yesterday, so hopefully not today yet. Just a Shadow Punch comes through there, and my own Shadow Punch being thrown into the opposing Ghost type. This should knock them out and secure us the win here in this game. GG to our opponent. All right, next matchup, Marowak as our lead into a Talonflame. Very awkward Pokemon to see, but once again, we do have play with our Marowak into this later on if we can land a Rock Slide, but they come in with a Unova Stunfisk. This is one of the worst case scenarios. A pretty bad lead, a devastating Stay Swap counter, and because, well, I can go for Scalds here to do super effective damage, I don't have fast pressure, I can't farm them down, and I can't outpace them. I don't have enough of an energy lead. This is going to be such a tricky matchup to win. Our opponent does go for the Mud Bomb here. I'm going for the Acid Spray on CMP. I'm going to fully undercharge at this point. I want a shield. I don't know if they know their counts. They do, I guess. Man, that's a crazy call. They must really be down with their acid counts already, or maybe they don't care about switch advantage right now. But I'm going to try to snipe them down with a Mud Step, but they wait. They waited to see if I was going to do that. That is crazy, you know? I guess we're playing against absolute top-tier opponents right now, and I shouldn't be surprised. This player playing very well. Talonflame is going to put in a lot of work into us. I'm going to go for the Bone Club bait. Our opponent might call this. It's been called a couple times today, but I did land 1 Rock Slide earlier. Our opponent this time does call it once again. I go for the Bone Club another time. I think at this point, despite the fact that it doesn't do as much damage as a Rock Slide, it should still draw a shield or knock them out, and in comes that shield here from the Talonflame. I know they have 2 moves, but I also know that I have to get some energy out of this thing. I want to force them to throw energy instantly, so we're going to go for that shield here. Our opponent does throw instantly, and now potentially, I don't know if there's really any chance of it, but maybe my Dusclops can get an endgame sweep, but it's going to be down so much resources here, right? There's going to be 3 Pokemon it has to get through. Cradily is the final Pokemon, potentially playable, but I know it has access to Rock Tomb. It can debuff my attack stat, and potentially this Fast Pressure as well, as the charges will be enough to 2-shot us. I go for the Ice Punch before they can debuff my attack stat. I want to get as much damage into them as we can. Ice Punch does put them into about 2-shot range here. They go for a Rock Tomb, and I know what my chance at winning this is, and it is on a catch. I need to make sure that I can catch whatever their next move is. I'm going to go for it right now. We do get the catch, which means potentially, while Dusclops is not exactly the biggest sweeper in the game, there's a chance it can come back from behind here. I just need to avoid any sort of catch happening. There comes the Talonflame. Just a couple of hexes down is all it takes. We have 2 Ice Punches, 1 for that Unovan Stunfisk, 1 for that Cradily. This game is hopefully going to be ours as long as these Ice Punches are enough to knock out these Pokemon. Ufisk comes in here. It is pretty healthy still, but Ice Punch will knock them out. Ice Punch against this Cradily. Is this enough? Once again, this Pokemon is pretty bulky. Ice Punch not the strongest move. Non-stab from Dusclops, but it is enough to knock out somehow Dusclops getting an endgame sweep. GG to our opponent. All right, next game, Dedenne lead. A break on the lead for once here. One of the best Pokemon I could see. Our opponent swapping in a Dusclops once again. I think we saw a team like this very similar at the start of the day where they had a Gligar in the backline, and if that is the case, it could be a little bit tricky to win this one. I'm going to go, though, for that Chip and Dip with our Marowak, get them into range where 1 Shadow Punch can knock them out, and I'm still outside of range where 2 Shadow Punches knock us out. I know if they go down shields, then I'm not that worried about winning switch advantage. Dedenne does have play into Tentacruel, but it's not going to have anywhere near as much play into that Pokemon as they'd like Acid, and Acid Spray would have a lot of damage against them. But I mean, I can just go for Switch as well. If they end up going for the No Shield here, potentially I can get a lot of Shadow Punch damage into that Dedenne, and maybe they're going to throw energy, maybe they're not going to have as much energy as they want for my Marowak later on. They do just let their Dusclops go down, so I do keep Switch in this game, and Shadow Punch will start spamming out against this Dedenne. In comes our next Shadow Punch here. I'm going to try to go for good timing just to get as much damage as I can, or potentially to tempt them into throwing a Charge Move into our Dusclops. They do go for the Parabolic Charge. It does raise their defense stat, but it's not going to matter here. They don't want to stay into my Ground-type Pokemon, and in the backline, once again, going to be that Shadow Gligar. Now, we saw this matchup earlier in the day. We know that going straight Acid and Acid Spray is basically good enough in the 2-shield matchup to soften it up so our Marowak can sweep the backline, so that's what I'm going to do. If they call this, well played by them, but I mean, honestly, I'm fine if they do. I can just get as much fast move and charging pressure off as I can, and these resisted moves are going to start adding up quite a bit. In comes yet another attack here from the Gligar, likely going to be a dig. It is yet again a dig here. I think the first time we played out this matchup, our opponent baited us the first time. This time, double dig, so good shields by us. In comes the next Acid Spray. It's going to lower their defense stat as much as possible. And just look at these moves that we're doing against them right now, putting them deep into the yellow, into range where I can potentially knock them out with a Bone Club of all things. Dig does knock us out here, but we're just a couple Mud Slaps away from the Bone Club. Might as well throw it, knock them out, and then Mud Slap down that Dedenne. In comes the Bone Club. Our opponent is going to get knocked out. The Ground-type move taking out the Flying-type Pokemon. Not super often you get to see that, but then the Mud Slaps should be enough here to finish off the Dedenne, and then finish up the game. GG there to our opponent. Yeah, this was a pretty fun team to try out. Honestly, Tentacruel didn't have quite as much play as I would have liked here today. I think there's a lot of ground types in the meta right now, a lot of Pokemon that can hard answer it, but it was a very nice usage of the move Acid. I wanted to use a Pokemon that had access to that move. It's a Shadow Claw clone, right? It's one of the best moves in the game. Its only drawback is not a lot of Pokemon learn it here, but Tentacruel, especially in the Ultra League, I bet has a lot of potential, so I think it was good to try out. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the battles and you want to see more content like this on the channel in the future, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps the channel a ton, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.